We are back here after that break, and it is 2-0 right now for NONGSHIM Red Force over KT Rolster. That last game, pretty one-sided, even after another good early win in the lanes there for KT. So not looking too great for KT after getting some good early games and then kind of just struggling from there on out.
Yeah, the KeSPA priority, we've kind of beaten the dead horse on that one, but definitely not working out for them. And I think it's just back to the experienced roster of NONGSHIM having the better macro rotations, which they've been great at all tournament long. Having better team fights, knowing when to re-engage, and just looking confident from start to finish, despite being down, right, in both games in the early game. The 4-kill for 0 turn they had in game 1 after Rich died solo twice. There's moments like that where you see this team doesn't get phased, doesn't get tilted, doesn't get affected, understands how to use their comp, understanding how to control vision and look for good team fights. The KT, on the other hand, really know how to control the top lane, right? But it's the bot lane, the KeSPA matchup, where they're not getting owned in lane, but it's the less we're seeing way less impact, right, on this side. Whereas you're seeing NONGSHIM just pick Leona both times and hard engaging, looking clean, and you're always seeing damage coming out from Duckdom, no matter what.
Yeah, he was looking pretty good on that Ezreal. I actually really liked that selection for that draft. And we do have a bit of an update, guys. Every single member of KT is getting swapped out, and we talked about this during the break. We had mixed feelings about, the reasons why and the decision itself, but I suppose here he's like, nope, you guys do not deserve to play, so we're putting in the sub-roster.
I'll be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed by this because I do think KT's main roster actually could have won both games if things went a little bit differently. I'm sure the draft was hard to play, but it was winnable, I think, in both games. And to swap out the entire roster going into Game 3 is a decision that screams, well, we lost this series, see you in LCK, let's put these guys in for one more run. And even though this roster did well in the group, undefeated, in fact, and I think Rebel and Noah were the big standouts for me. I think a lot of people are looking at Gideon as well. I don't think this roster beats NONGSHIM at all. And no, I don't know if this swap is happening because I think this roster will beat NONGSHIM either. And that's sad for me because I wanted a Game 4. I wanted maybe a Game 5. And I feel like we're not going to see that anymore.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is the decision that brings us the farthest away from that possibility as possible. And yeah, regardless of the decision, or the reason rather behind the decision, it is what it is, and we'll see if maybe they can pull off a big upset here, because after bringing in the subs, definitely will be the underdog team coming into this one, as we'll also have to see how the draft does change up here. They're not going to let Rich get Aatrox again.
So already a change up in the draft massively here with the Aatrox ban. That's going to force the Pantheon red side ban here, and they can actually take Graves very likely here, unless NONGSHIM is going to ban that over the Pantheon, which will be the first time Pantheon gets through. I don't think this will be a tournament first here in this third game of the semifinals. And there's the Akali removal. So Pantheon actually gets left open because of this. I forgot about Akali, and there he is!
Yeah.
Vikla, good luck! See how this one goes? It might not be in the mid lane, but that's where he's been played primarily in Korea recently.
Yeah, Pantheon's really strong, and we haven't gotten a chance to see him here yet in the KeSPA Cup, so I'm excited for this one. Definitely switching things up. I was talking about during the break, I'm like, man, Core Drinker, Sterix, Aatrox, Olaf every single game. I'm not a huge fan of casting this, 8,000 times in a row, so KT's sub-roster comes in, they make me a happy caster, and we should have some interesting changes here.
The other champion that's kind of missing right now is the Graves, but NONGSHIM are not going to take it. They're going to put Peanut on the Talia instead, which means that KT will get the Pantheon and the Graves. And that is two extremely high priority picks. This is the first game Pantheon's been open. To put it into perspective, I think that's like 26 games of him being banned before this moment.
Yeah.
And they could get the Graves with that as well. Extremely powerful. And the priority goes back to the KeSPA, actually, on NONGSHIM's side. I think the execution with Duckdom on KeSPA and the experience he has on the champion, even in this tournament, make a lot more sense than what we were seeing previously with Hybrid, unfortunately. So those things are not equivalent, the priority here, and they'll even take the Alistair. So this looks very familiar to a KT draft that we had in Game 1.
Yeah, the Thresh coming in, that priority is pretty interesting. Maybe Rebel wants to give that a shot.
We saw, actually, that same lane with Duckdom and Kellen. Actually, they played the Thresh Aphelios in the group stage to great success. So seems like a kind of older school popular combo. Orianna removed here. This is also getting a support early. We don't want to have a hard engage like the Leona necessarily with this draft. You already have strong engage Pantheon. He could have been the support, but not played that way, like I said, right now in Korea. Allows you a little bit more flexibility.
Yeah, might be looking at him jungle. Definitely NONGSHIM given some respect to the idea that he might not be in the mid lane.
Yeah.
And the Ornn is going to be taken away from the side of NONGSHIM, so they don't want to give NONGSHIM their comp that they were trying to run for 2 times in a row with their main roster. Is Lilia also going to be taken off the board here?
Yeah, it looks like NONGSHIM is just kind of trying to take away the more common remaining picks for the jungle and mid lane with the Talia and obviously Olaf banned. Yone taken away once again here from KT. Just do not want to deal with it. Works well with the Talia like we talked about before. Duckdom in the driver's seat now, but obviously already has his bot lane locked up. The question becomes now what we see in mid. Syndra, the safe option. Zoe, going to be great for Siege, and that's what they will go with. A lot of teams would have gone the Victor here, and even left open, Bay's not going to take it.
Yeah, and after the entire draft, Graves is still available. Yeah, it's like they're giving KT the best chance to to potentially win.
I mean,
the way this draft is going.
It's almost as if, I mean, this isn't what's really happening, but it almost feels like in another world, like this is KT disrespecting NONGSHIM, saying, all right, we're going to bring out our fun roster. Like, you already want this is NONGSHIM going, okay, good luck with it. We're going to give you all the tools, and we're still going to beat you. We'll see the Galio support locked in here.
Yeah, well,
very likely.
The Galio mid with the Thresh.
Right, sorry.
And
so
I guess Pantheon up to the top side. And we might be seeing that up against a Gangplank here.
Oh no, is this Rich 05 Gangplank into winning the game again?
Maybe, well, he swaps over to the Jace.
It's going to be, I think, a much better option.
Ooh, Volibear.
Ooh, the Volibear is nice.
Yeah. Pretty interesting there.
Second one of the tournament. Yeah, pretty nice. Not going to be amazing into the Pantheon, but it's really on Peanut, right? If Peanut ends up roaming up here a lot, there's definitely a lot that Rich can accomplish. And given the Thresh pick and the Galio mid, I do think that that's where he'll be going most of this early game. There's not much to say about this draft in terms of what it means necessarily yet, because it's our first Pantheon game, and I think there's definitely been a little bit of, we don't like to talk about this too much in esports, but the fun element, you know, of what's happening in a preseason tournament here with KT swapping their whole roster. The fun element is kind of flying through the screen. If you don't look closely, you might miss it. If you try to overanalyze this draft, I think. We'll see.
Yeah, I do think that KT did get some pretty nice tools, and it is a very different kind of a draft compared to what they were getting here before in some of the other games. So bringing in their new roster and having a new potential here to get some earlier stuff going. I feel like their mid-game skirmish potential is pretty large. With the comp that they do have, I think Gideon could potentially have an amazingly fun time. The question is, can they actually play up to NONGSHIM's level?
That's the question.
It doesn't matter what you draft if you're not good enough to play it. As looks like we're just about ready to jump into game number 3, guys. KT Rolster up against NONGSHIM Red Force to see who will take this one. Will NONGSHIM go ahead and win the semis 3-0 and go up against Damwon on next Saturday, or will it be KT extending the series? Let's hop onto the Rift and find out.
The Galio pick, you know, has been played a lot into double tank, usually the Alistair. It's been played as support primarily. I mentioned it earlier at the beginning of the broadcast, but 1 in 6 currently in KeSPA Cup. So even though the idea of the taunt deterring this extremely heavy front line is good, it hasn't worked in practice. But it was picked even before, if I'm not mistaken, the Volibear came through. And I think Renekton was up, so that could have been another option they went with, if I'm not remembering incorrectly.
Renekton was banned in, it was the second ban on red side.
Oh, okay.
So NONGSHIM took that one away, that potential.
Well, that's the one that's normally paired with the Alistair, so some improvising here from Rich. And NONGSHIM take the Volibear instead. And yeah, you get to see your variety of champions you were wanting, you know?
Yeah, a little bit, you know. Miss on the flay there, not going to be too much of a difference. Just going to step up and try to hit level 2 first, which they should with the KeSPA. Just the way things are going to go down here. And yeah, it's pretty interesting to see Bay hopping onto the Zoe blind as well. The Galio pick, kind of a defensive pick into the Zoe. As here comes Gideon.
Yeah, he's coming aggressively here. Down a level.
Yep.
Just gonna sad B.
Standing there in the brush.
Yeah.
Emoting.
It's bad. That's a common occurrence though, this matchup so far. Vikla wants more with the lane shoved a little bit, but
he was thinking maybe he could get a Q down, steal some of those popcorn chickens.
Well, Castle gonna get the stun here, but I don't think we can push the issue any further. As Rich is like, oh man, Peanut, I don't know if you're gonna come up here if Castle keeps trailing me like this. Might not actually, might not be the strong side for the jungler.
Peanut had already gotten one of the scuttles. He's going to cross over and try to get the other one here.
Yep. Surfing in.
Yeah, it's pretty good to... It's pretty easy to pick these up as the Talia. And because Gideon went very aggressive onto the enemy red buff, he can pick up his third buff, the blue, on his side of the map, so he doesn't necessarily want to be super aggressive and try to get the scuttles and the 3 buff the enemy jungle. So
that's the trade-off, right? You want the safe gold on your jungle after being aggressive, and that means Talia can just zoom down and take it.
His emote game has been so on point tonight.
Blue bow ties.
Oh, Pangu and B, best partnership. Gideon is back in here. He says, well, you have 24 CS. I know you got both scuttles. You probably didn't take the Krugs. Let me just hop in here and take them down. Smart maneuver from Gideon.
Snagging those away. So a little bit of pressure potentially onto Rich. After this, there's a timing for this. But he's at full health. And I don't think he can actually make the play. I mean, Graves, there are limits to his power, you know. He's considering it. But I think they're going to need to do a little bit more than what they've done so far here. Make this happen. Teleport.
Yeah, they do have the teleport coming in here. Looking to get that damage down onto Rich as the... Okay, the taunt is going to be dodged here. Gideon taking a ton of damage, but Rich will eventually go down. As the KT Rollster emotes do come up with the first blood. Peanut is going to help push this mid lane and try to get some back in the farm, but that's a nice little gank early here from KT.
Yeah, that's the that's what they needed to force that to happen. They needed a teleport, and Rich will head straight back into lane. But Zoe gonna do a little bit of damage in the mid lane. You don't, you know, crush turret plates as Zoe in the mid lane enough. You get a little lead, so Takes some time for her to do damage to anything with auto attacks. So as you can see, ends up being pretty fine for Vikla, who's not going to even lose that many minions. He's pretty behind, however, in that regard, but nice assist gold.
Yeah, just trying to be proactive with the Pantheon here, as you see the setup happen.
Teleport is just spot on as well. There's not much he can do. He's nearsighted. Auto. Gideon has to get out of there, otherwise dying turret aggro, but tanked enough. So.
Okay, looks like Rich just gonna die again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, with the teleport, actually, he will survive. So Bay gonna trade his teleport this time to save a life.
Trade one teleport. Donate a teleport today. Save a Rich. Just one teleport per month can really make a difference in your top lane.
Seems that way.
I mean, Rich has had he has had some really tough times in this tournament in the top lane.
Some poor times.
Yes.
Twitch chat's favorite moniker for Rich when things aren't going well. And yeah, I mean, I don't know how he manages to lose lane every single time. It's definitely something is going on up there.
It's I mean, there's a lot of commitment to punishing him because of this trend. I think it's a problem that begets a problem, right? He plays aggressively. He does get a lot of jungle aggro as a result, and gets behind. People commit more. At least that's been the story of this tournament for him. Peanut trying to take this opportunity to sneak the Ocean Drake away, and there's not. I mean, there's no vision around this Drake, so I think he will just simply get away with it, even though Gideon was very close by. So again, one of those macro things for NONGSHIM, and the way they've been playing their jungle with Peanut for the last 3 games has been more farm-oriented and more passive. So this is no different. This over to Bay.
We're not going to get too much value. It would have been pretty obvious when Bay moves over to get the blue buff anyway, based on him moving out of the lane, and he would have just come right back. So kind of interesting one there, but at least does confirm that.
Gideon kind of made this play pretty obvious, but I don't think Rich can do anything about it, and if this rotated in, I really want to bait a fight here into the Pantheon in this early game. Actually, gonna get a big commitment out of it. Aphelios is pinging, I'm going to get some plates. This is actually the biggest macro play I think we've seen from KT in this series, actually. And this is working out really well for them. Look at this. And slowly, Duck Dom comes back. He's not going to miss too much here. This could have been disastrous if they overcommitted.
They could actually dive in. I don't know if they know exactly where the Alistar is. They're going to be careful, and there's no reason to try to force that. But yeah, big maneuver up on the map from NONGSHIM, trying to get some plates. They do get the one. And they're just going to let that leash. So neither team really going to make a move onto the Rift Herald just yet.
Yeah. It's actually a really cool response from NONGSHIM, but they didn't overdo it. So there's the commitment.
Wow, we're getting the box down here as popping in is Noah. Easy Lantern to get him to safety. And just like that, Kellen just going to disappear off the map incredibly easily. They did make that look as Rebel just steps forward, gets the grab, and no level 6 for Kellen means that he is a dead cow.
Yeah. Aggressive play. They didn't go for the dive on the Duck Dom, but waited for this moment there with the box, as you mentioned. The Drake is not up for a while, so all they can get out of this is obviously the gold and the plate, and a little bit of Drake control. Not even all of it, but still small victories here. KT has been pretty macro-focused this game, though. You'll see the Herald go down. Meanwhile, as the replay comes through, Rebel, I've really liked his play in this tournament. He's been extremely aggressive. He's played Alistar actually every game up until this point, but Thresh set up here with the Lantern, just going deep.
Yeah, pretty straightforward one. As we did have the Rift Herald go down in the mid lane, able to give a bunch of that gold over to the side of Bay, who does seem to be the one with the most gold in this game.
Yeah.
Just overall.
Vicla's been rotating around a lot, so it's just been out of lane significantly. And this is really nice too for Zoe. Like once the mid turret goes down, she becomes so much more powerful with her siege and her poke. So good choice. You know, it's obviously the common Rift Herald choice in a lot of these games, but gonna be ooh, that was close. Gonna be especially impactful for Bay. So Rebel is looking for more here.
Yeah,
I love that word.
Oh, that. Okay, well, they were able to disengage very naturally there. This teleport is going to get some plates off of this bottom turret, so it's still valuable. You don't have to get the kills, but...
But look at Rich on the top lane, too. He's getting the same thing.
Oh, another hook here. And a root. But this time around, we got Peanut just surfing in, using that passive to ride the wall and come on down. Going to get that flash away from Rebel pretty easily.
Yeah, Rich is still in the top lane, pushing hard. It's going to force Vikla to go up there and deal with that. Ping comes down as well. Like, okay, it's a little bit scary. The value there.
They've got inside track into the enemy jungle, but I'm just not going to take it. I feel like with Alistair coming up, they could have made a move, but, you know, try to zone him away, maybe get some more damage down on the mid lane turret, but instead, they'll just rotate back into their natural lanes.
Yeah, Faye is pretty happy to harass Castle here, but wait for another minion wave. Now they're taking that path down towards mid. It's like just gonna back though. Ping's coming down, in fact, onto Kellen. Yeah.
Yep, that's gonna be a hook on him. And with this ultimate available, he's gonna try to turn this one around as much as he possibly can, but teleport as well. Coming in from Vikla, as he will look to get some damage down onto Rich, who just ultimates away. But this is all before the Mountain Drake, and that trade is going to be beneficial to the side of KT.
Yeah. Really well played. Getting that ult, now getting another grab here. They're going in.
Yeah, he had to flash away. Lantern comes in now, and we have another teleport, this time from Bay, but already damage done to that. Mountain Drake will go the way of the Aphelios. As Gideon over the wall, this is getting pretty skirmishy. In goes the Galio, but you can see Noah in the back line just gets absolutely nuked by this huge Zoe, who is looking for more. A little bit late there on the flash over the wall, but still the chase will continue, as it always seems to do with this Zoe, who does pick off another kill.
Sad ending here for Vikla, I think.
Yeah, he's going to go down as well. Make that 3 in favor of NONGSHIM. They don't get the Drake, but they do wipe the floor with KT.
And KT seemed so interested in making sure the Drake went to them instead of abandoning it and taking the fight instead, despite the positional advantage they had. This is back to that Kellen pick, which is what started this all off in the first place. He gets taken out. You see the teleport come through from Rich. Then he has to ult out when another hook with that Ruse cooldown comes through. And then things just look perfect here for KT. But in this moment, right, Drake is still at half health, and Gideon is not moving forward. They're not willing to give the Drake up or try to take the fight or even to retreat. And this just allows so much value to be given here.
Watch this Zoe.
Look at this Bay. It's just like, okay.
Look at this on the left.
Coming in. Noah's stuck. He slept, and it's just GG on that one.
Yeah. And everybody else is taking so much damage, just getting poked while the Drake was going on, as you mentioned.
Castle as well, just like panting on ults, and he's like, wait, everybody go.
Yeah. He was backing after the trade in the mid lane, so he was just kind of absent the entire fight. So
this is a really proactive KT roster, though. This roster they're fielding here, the second roster, they're making a lot of aggressive plays. They're looking for missteps on the side of NONGSHIM. Like, I really appreciate how Rebel has played this Thresh so far. And they're not just sitting back and trying to play safe. They're trying to take small macro advantage. We're seeing aggression in the bot lane. The Drake take after that pick was the right play on paper, but it was what happened after that. or as it was being taken, that cost them the fight and brings NONGSHIM back into the lead.
Uh-oh, Gideon caught out here. This is going to be what looks like a free kill. Do they have the damage, though? He'll used, and he will have to flash to pick up that kill, but, you know, you'll use both summoners just to pick up a kill and get it onto your 80 carry. Now 2-0 and 2 is Duckdom.
Yeah, and he went for the faster. Oh, hold that thought.
Yeah, Castle here. Getting kited a bit by Peanut, flashing in though, and that is going to be the kill. Where was Rich pretty late to this fight, as I think Peanut was expecting some help, which is why he stuck around in that one, but yeah, just kind of left him out to dry as Bay here throw down the bubble and walk away.
Yeah. What I was going to say is, you know, Duckdom built the, is building the Muramana, and, you know, this is going to be a kind of a slower game for him as a result, but being 2-0 and 2
again.
Yeah, this is
this time,
this is a pattern now.
Okay. Now there's no escape for him. Graves had a bit of an easier time than even the Galio. And yeah. It feels like not respecting the fact that they have zero vision in their own jungle. They got to be careful just walking up in the lane like that.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do feel like it would be crazy for NONGSHIM to be there just because of the inherent risks involved in that, especially when NONGSHIM doesn't have vision of Gideon, but yeah, definitely very much overconfident. This is Peanut being like, oh yeah, this is why Pantheon is banned every game except this game for some reason. What's going on?
I mean, if he didn't flash, I think Peanut actually had the ability to 1v1, and also, you know, Rich. Okay, Zoe just the fastest unit in this game. Like, Pantheon is going to throw up that shield.
Right before the sleep, and now the entrance comes through.
Bay
Nice disengage.
Bay was going supersonic in that one. As now we've got a bear on the run. Will be able to ult over the wall. In goes Rebel. He's got a lantern over the wall, and Graves, of course, will be able to get over. How is he not dead yet? He's still getting in there. He's still fighting. 1v3 somehow. Duckdom says, oh yeah, why is Pantheon in this game again? I don't know. Forgot about him.
Yeah.
We were having a fun time in the bot lane, but now I see that there is, in fact, a Pantheon.
Kraken Slayer is done for Duckdom, so perhaps getting a little bit excited towards KT. Sorry, I'm a new legal legends caster. I should have to use the KT excited thing a lot. Let me know if I'm overusing it.
No, it's good. It's great. It's fine.
Rift Herald.
Maybe Atlas is fuming at home by himself.
Sure, no doubt.
That's okay.
Yeah, and he's been fuming sitting next to me in the seat room right now a few of the casting days. Double charge here for the Rift Herald. Getting quite a bit of value done. And KT have had a, you know, they're behind in this game. There have been some issues. Uh-oh. When you roll that redemption, you got to use it.
Yeah. It's a good Zoe right there.
There have been some issues in terms of KT overextending or not showing respect in the side lanes, but they have been really proactive. And when you think about what this second team could be capable of with the confidence level they have right now, with some mechanical skill that will come with time, as it always does with newer rookie players, you know, feels like this team could be terrifying. Maybe not in 2021, maybe not in 2022, but these players individually down the road.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're mentioning down the road. I mean, Vikla was born in 2003. Gideon also 2003. Some very young talents on the side of KT Rolster's secondary team here, essentially. So, give it time. I'm, you know, you mentioned Rebel. I'm actually a fan myself. He's been impressing in this game once again. You can see that KT, they would love to stop the wrath of Zoe, but having a rough time of that so far.
She's got a stopwatch now as well. And I mean, it's it's an uphill battle, let's just say. But it's not unwinnable by any means because of the way that Rebel is playing, the aggression we're seeing. It does feel like for the first time in this series, NONGSHIM are kind of on their toes, if you know what I mean. They're certainly having to play a tough game here. Teleport coming through.
Dom, what's going on up there? He said the teleport coming in from Rich. He's going to get burst down with no follow-up on the side of NONGSHIM. As they were poking him down pretty nicely, you can see that Bay is getting in there. Now going to try to...
Stopwatch is out early.
What was that? Goes in, takes way too much damage. Here comes Pantheon, in he goes, and Kellen trying to frontline here for Duckdom, but it is not going to be easy up against that Pantheon. That is just ripping them to shreds, as that was really close.
That was close. I mean, these are the kinds of mistakes that KT is constantly fishing for. I mean, you show one moment of weakness, you show just one overextension, and they pull the trigger. This is the style of play we needed when KT was ahead in the last 2 games. I take back everything I said about, well, this roster swap means I guess they're just not trying to win this series, but it feels like they're trying harder than the first 2 games ever were in terms of where they're moving on the map, how aggressive they're playing, how confidently they look for picks. As, you know, Duckdom is way out here. Doesn't even auto that. He's like, oh, okay, I see, this is a bad situation. Rich comes in with a teleport to try to save him. Is instantly blown up. Nobody else can rejoin here because of the box. And Vikla actually using that entrance for safety. Didn't even need that to be used that way. And this is Bay just hoping he can get a pick on a Rebel. Can't blame him for that, but does have to use a stopwatch. He'll get out. Clock comes down. Kellen. Duckdom just narrowly escaping as well here with his life, and feels winnable here for KT if they can keep getting these picks. This one's timed a little bit too early for the Cloud Drake, unfortunately, but watching Kellen for some reason.
Yeah, he's just running around. Yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting. I feel like that Cloud Drake is not going to get much value at all for the side of NONGSHIM. The Cloud Soul, if they do pick it up. Yeah, their engage tools that are not necessarily hard engage are going to be a bit faster, but like it's just not really that much value at all. So I feel like KT, if they just hunkered down here a little bit, maybe trust in the Noah carry that could come in later on. Also, Gideon is very fed on the Grave so far. His farming hasn't been fantastic, though. He's kind of behind where a higher tier jungler would be at this moment. But he's still got the kills.
He's got the kills. He's got the Gale Force completed, which is what makes him fully complete as a top tier jungler, you know?
Yeah. Just made that Gale Force and transform.
He's like, oh, like, I have 2 dashes now.
Yeah.
You know, the ult cooldowns that come in on KT's side, if they get that Cloud Drake, are quite significant. You know, Pantheon, the Graves, and across the board, really, even for Rebel, be pretty significant. Gideon got that Gale Force, you know, he's complete now, like I said.
They weren't even going to go for Vikla there. He just popped out.
But, you know, this is what I love about what KT is doing, is they just, no holds barred, no risk, no chances taken when they're in a dangerous spot, and all risks taken in an aggressive spot.
They're all just backing on the same ward. That's a recipe for disaster. How did Duckdom miss that? They were standing still. Oh,
yeah,
no.
Well,
I mean, not like he would have just gone in 1v4, but
this is, well.
You know, if a fight was opened up by an Alistair.
Need I read you the KeSPA win rate again?
He is pretty fed, you know, who knows? He's had some good series here.
They can't Baron off of this back. There's just not enough time there. But they clear away the vision, which was already basically theirs.
There's definitely some mistakes that have been made in this game that are easily fixable. You know, you play a bunch more scrims. You go back to the drawing board, you hammer out some of those bad habits that we're seeing from, you know, just unpracticed or, you know, newer pro players. And this secondary KT roster is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
I
for
wouldn't
sure.
mind seeing some of these players come in every once in a while when things aren't looking so good for the side of the main KT roster.
I might want to some tight contracts on these guys. If they're not going to play on the main roster, it might go elsewhere. NONGSHIM going to grab another turret. And Bay is threatening the spot lane. Turret as well. Kellen to block anybody from prevent anybody from stopping this. So grabbing 2 turrets, and unfortunately for KT Rolster, they haven't grabbed any objectives during this. They've just kind of been playing passively, which is the opposite of how the early game has been, but they're really showing NONGSHIM's late game prowess some respect now with both items completed now for DuckDom. He is terrifying. Horizon Focus is done for Bay. What happened? I was reading the items.
He tried to rocket belt last, hit the cannon, and he missed.
Oh.
I mean, he hit, but he did it too early. So.
He mistimed it.
Yeah. Thankfully, it doesn't have that long of a cooldown, but still looked a little bit silly.
It looks like Castle's trying to decide what he wants to do here. The fight that will happen is a bit too far away. I think the side lane. He's clearing vision. He does ping that he is going to go side lane. Yeah,
I mean, he's got teleport and he is Pantheon, so there are options. They don't have that many backside wards like in the enemy jungle for like flank teleports or anything, but you could definitely put on some pressure in the side lane as the Pantheon, just adding to part of the reason why Pantheon is so good.
He does commit to it, and NONGSHIM just aren't. I mean, they can't pull the trigger on Baron yet. So I'm gonna send Zoe to the top lane. It's very much a lull state here, but it feels like KT should have been more vulnerable in this moment to a potential Baron setup or one of those fights right in this moment when DuckDom has got that big spike. But it feels like, in fact, KT is getting a little bit of value in the side lane, and they get to walk away from this fight. And KT is certainly, I think, happy with the situation they're in, all things considered. There's the back coming through from Castle. Hashtag winnable, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
we might see that game 4 after all.
They were positioning around the Baron as if they were even considering going for it, or at least, you know, with the mindset that it is a possibility to try to pressure that objective and potentially take a fight. I wonder how focused they'll be on trying to deny this Cloud Soul. Again, I don't think it's going to offer too much to the side of NONGSHIM. I suppose Zoe will be able to portal jump quite a lot.
Yeah.
But,
like, a lot.
Yeah, like, really, like, an insane amount.
And run really, really fast.
True. And
I mean,
Alistair engages, not bad.
It's definitely going to push them to a closer Elder Drake fight. So I think that's what they want.
It's like the bigger meaning here.
Yeah.
Rebel is okay, yeah.
Zoe is like, okay, Horizon Focus is pretty good.
Get Zoe'd.
Yeah, the spike is here across the board, I think, for NONGSHIM, and to not use this moment of advantage means that everybody can catch up on the other side. They also just got, DuckDom just got a stopwatch, so he can play really aggressively in this fight. Peanut's just going to try to steal this Drake away. Now's the time for KT to make something happen. The Weaver's welcome, send her right back in, but I don't know if this is the play.
No, I don't.
The Lantern is like not where it needs to be to make this happen. I mean, Vikla can come in, but
they're just going to engage, and in goes the KeSPA, going to stopwatch early, deny some of that damage.
Big ton!
And now DuckDom is just going to get denied from doing anything in this fight. Kellen with a big knockup this time around. Remember, Bay and Peanut still alive and shelling out so much damage in this fight, even though it started out pretty well. Killing that KeSPA and making it look even more worthless in this game. We do have NONGSHIM winning the fight in the end.
Yeah, NONGSHIM do win it. The longevity is definitely there in the team fight for them, and despite the taunt, you know, the Weaver as well sends Peanut into the fight, so he's able to get back in very quickly. You know, I've praised the decisiveness of KT in this map in terms of the macro play, in terms of the team fights they forced, the team fights they've started with fresh hooks from Rebel, etc. But this might have been just a little bit too much. Start the Baron right in the face of NONGSHIM.
They were just waiting for the respawn. I'm like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
It looked so silly. Okay, we finally get it.
So
here's the replay.
Look at Rebel's Lantern position here. It's for Vikla to come in, but instead of just in with his ultimate. Meanwhile, You can see
Duck
whenever he
Dom,
comes
I
in.
don't know what that was.
The taunt is big. Duck Dom dies as you, with your question marks that came out of your mouth just then, but
Yeah.
Kellen actually gets healed up and survives. There's just so much good peel from this Alistair.
Yeah. Duck Dom went in a bit too early, but the fight was kind of saved by Kellen. Really good follow-up, and he created a lot of space. He and Rich for Bay and Peanut, who are apparently the bigger two damage dealers in the squad, at least for that fight. And yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, NONGSHIM is okay. Well, just passing through his castle.
Castle just sneezed across the map real quick.
He's just castling as king, you know, just like swap the rook in a position.
Yep. Too bad there's no turret there. Would have been perfect.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, it doesn't block turret shots anymore, but it still blocks the Zoe.
Still very good at basically everything else. This feels like, remember last time I said, well, all NONGSHIM has to do is be careful and not mess up a hard engage. This time I think they probably just will engage like they did before. Weaver's Wall here just trying to help secure this outer, or the inhibitor turret.
Yeah, slow and steady push. It doesn't look like KT have a big engage anywhere here.
I mean,
trying to burst down Duck Dom, they do a decent job of that, but
it's a Zoe comp. I mean, even with Bay getting threatened for a second here, he's not too concerned. And looking for Rich.
Rich creating a lot of room here. Just going to allow both Duck Dom and Peanut this time around to shell insane amounts of damage onto that front line. Very well played front to back. Castle here desperate. Nearly able to actually 1v2 on the right side there. So props to Pantheon, I suppose. As NONGSHIM looking to end this game here at 32 minutes. We're going to have the teleport coming back in from Rich, as they will look for that kill onto Gideon. They are hunting him down. They do not want to let this young player get out alive, as the first seismic shove does land. And that will be the last one of this game. NONGSHIM Red Force will take the 3-0 and move on to the finals of the KeSPA Cup, where they will face off against Dom1 Gaming.
And the tournament will end the way it started. Dom1 versus NONGSHIM Red Force. That was the first match of the tournament. The first two logos to collide in the KeSPA Cup opening, and they will be the ones to collide in that best of 5 next Saturday to decide the first winner in Korean League of Legends on this patch. KT swapped the roster. I like the proactive play. I like the way that they decided to use the Thresh pick, look for aggressive openings there throughout the entirety of that game. Maybe a little bit too aggressive on the Baron. But, you know, at the end of the day, NONGSHIM just clean up and have another crushing victory here. I liked how they played the second roster, but I still am a little bit sad we didn't get to know what could have happened if the depth of KT's main roster did win that fourth game, or excuse me, run that third game and then bring us to a fourth game. And what happens if they win that one and bring us to a fifth game? Where does the Kaiser priority go as the rabbit hole goes deeper for the series? We'll never know. But we'll have to wait until LCK to see how this roster performs. But
yeah, and I feel like every time we get a team eliminated, we kind of break it down and think about, you know, what do we think about this team, right? It's kind of their first showing with the new roster, and I think there is one thing across the board for all 10 players and both rosters from KT is that they seem to be very confident as solo players. Like, they all seem like great solo queue players.
Yeah.
They are winning lanes against great players, and they win these early games. They look great, and then when it comes to the macro side of the game, the later, you know, the mid to late game fights are just a disaster, even for the top roster, the top 5 players. And I mean, they had leads in almost all 3 games, at least 2.5.
Two and a half, you could say, yeah.
And still didn't really know what to do once they got into a later stage. So that's fixable. That is, you can develop that skill for their club, and I think that they do have a lot of potential in the individual players. But as a team, for all 10 players and for both rosters, they do need a lot of work, and we'll see what they show up with come spring.
You know, I've commentated. I haven't commentated League of Legends till this tournament, not officially, but I've commentated Heroes of the Storm, and I've commentated Overwatch, which is essentially a MOBA, even though it's like an FPS. The one thing I've found in my experience before I came into League of Legends is that building the team synergy is actually the hardest part. The mechanics, they always come, right? The mechanics come over time. You become more experienced. Your nerves go away, right? But building that perfect team synergy to know how to move together, how to rotate together, sometimes without even words, just off pings alone.
Yep.
That's the hardest part, and that is something that will come, I think, with KT's main roster. It felt like was a little bit better here in their second roster, to be honest. And something else I want to point out, which, you know, as we go into the final series, the finals on next Saturday, probably see a lot of Pantheon bans. I don't think they're left open ever. So Pantheon might exit this tournament with a 0% win rate.
Yeah.
Despite being banned every game except this one.
Sometimes that's the way it goes. Where NONGSHIM was just like, yeah, you know, we'll let you have Pantheon. We don't want to let you have Akali. We saw what Akali can do if she gets any kind of lead. Probably even more impressive. And I thought Bay had a good game on the Zoe. I think he's a really interesting player for NONGSHIM, you know, as a relatively new and somewhat unknown player that is, you know, early on we saw basically Orianna. I think he had like one game of Syndra.
He had one game of Syndra, you're right.
Yeah.
But he actually, he's played 2 games of Sylas now. Of all the mid laners in this tournament, I think he's had the biggest champion pool in this tournament. He played Echo, he played Galio, he started the tournament with Twisted Fate, so
yeah,
he's shown an incredible amount of depth, and
he's a really interesting player for me.
Yeah, he has really good mechanical skill too. Sometimes his decision making is, I think, what's the word? His eyes are bigger than his stomach kind of thing.
Yeah,
where
yeah,
he sees an opportunity that is there like a few seconds later or a few seconds before perhaps, but he sees a chance to come in and like this, for example.
And he knows he's good enough to potentially outplay it, and he's confident to do so, but you know, sometimes it's just not the right play in pro play. I would agree with that, but he's like the one player for me from this lineup where I'm like, interesting. I do think this guy has a pretty high ceiling, and he's very consistent early on. He's not super flashy, not really. I mean, there are some moments though where you're like, this is actually some pretty good stuff from this guy.
Yeah, one of the standouts for me too for NONGSHIM, and I mean, it almost sounds like we're talking about it like we're just about to watch them play in LCK, but we still have the finals, right? They might impress us there further, but
yeah,
Kellen has been extremely aggressive, has led to a lot of really good trades for Duckdom getting to the late game, just giving him a lot of kills, sometimes sacrificing himself to give Duckdom 2 kills, you know, in a 2v2. So damage-wise across the board, it's not a huge shock that Zoe does lead in that first game of Zoe for Bay, and the siege damage was real, the poke was real, and Zoe has started to get a little bit more popular in this tournament after what was a pretty tame start where she wasn't picked that much, but she's risen slowly over time as the tournament's gone on. And Syndra has kind of dropped off a little bit, especially if you look at this series, but the previous series yesterday as well.
If you want to watch Syndra, you can wait for Saturday, and I'm sure Showmaker will bless us with 4 more games of Syndra. Thank you, base Showmaker, for playing Syndra every single game.
Showmaker saw his shadow. It means 6 more weeks of Syndra.
God. I mean, he even after he got kind of wrecked by the Yone of Chovy, he's like, you know what? I think I'll play Syndra again. And you'll probably play it more on Saturday, no doubt. As the 3-0 comes in from NONGSHIM Rep Force, I wasn't sure what to expect from this series, to be honest. I just kind of wanted to let it happen and wait and see. But NONGSHIM did impress, and it kind of does show us that Group B was, in fact, the weakest group by far.
Yeah.
by a large margin, I'd say.
I do think in a parallel universe, KT wins both of those first games, and we go to game 5. We see like this insane, awesome best of 5 between these two squads, but they just couldn't close it out. Here's the finals, and this is, as I said, this is where we started this tournament. It was a close first game, actually, between Damwon and NONGSHIM Red Forest. We even saw, I mean, that was where we saw Rich play Malphite. It was a really fun first map. We saw the turret come through. I think we're going to see fireworks in this grand finals. I mean, Damwon massively favored again, and we've seen this matchup already.
I'm a bit worried about that bottom lane, to be honest. I think that Ghost and Beryl are about, right now, maybe 3 or 4 tiers above where Duckdom and Kellen are. Just to, you know, say the truth, I think that Duckdom and Kellen need a lot of work before they can have some luck against this bottom duo.
Yeah. And this is a preview of, you know, where we might be in the first few weeks of regular season. Put Genji and T1 in a different box over there. Schrodinger's academy teams. I don't know. We'll see how their main rosters are when we open the box.
We'll see. It's coming soon, you know.
Yeah.
2-3 weeks or so, we'll be getting into that. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I think that the Canyon versus Peanut matchup is also really cool because Peanut has been looking pretty consistent. Looks like he's having fun. Lots of emotes.
Yeah.
Canyon likes to have his fun as well.
Certainly true. And see how Rich does in the top lane. I don't know if all the resources will be going into killing him multiple times because that ends up backfiring in terms of the win rate for some reason so far this tournament.
It just soaks all the pressure. But, you know, I think that Khan can probably have some fun there 1v1. Maybe Canyon can visit once and then spread his pressure out to some of the other lanes. It's going to be an interesting finals for sure.
I think we'll see some depth of these champion pools as well. I think you're going to get to see more than, you know, your same champions every game that we've seen for, besides the semis.
Besides Syndra.
Yeah.
Syndra 3 games probably.
Hey, could draw a ban. Could draw a ban early.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Fingers crossed for you, maybe.
NONGSHIM was picking red side every time as well. And Damwon was liking the blue side, so I don't know. We'll see if they have that availability on the bans. But it looks like that's just going to do it here for the semifinals. Doesn't look like we got any more games today.
Nope.
A pretty quick 3-0 on this one, but make sure you guys are tuning in for next Saturday. We did have 7 days of KeSPA Cup here during Christmas, but tune in on Saturday for the finals. We'll see you then.
파랑팀의 억제기가 파괴되었습니다.